everybody, and welcome to Parent Training. This month's Parent Training is on functions of behavior. And I am Brittany Boganski. I am a board certified behavior analyst at Kaleidoscope Interventions in-home services. Little background on me, I have been working with children with special needs since 2004. I worked at a specialized preschool for 7 years, and then I went to FIT for undergrad, where I started working at an autism center, where I started learning about autism treatment, and then I joined the master's program at FIT, where I became a behavior analyst. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Here we go. All right, so an overview. We are going to go over why we behave the way we do, because we all behave, and there's always a reason why we behave. What are the functions of behavior? Some examples. And how do we treat behaviors based on function? And then we're going to play a little game. So we're going to ask for your participation tonight. So we're going to have a lot of fun, I hope. All right, so we behave to, there it is, to get something. So you want something like, let's say we all dress up and we knock on people's doors. Why do we do that? To get candy, of course. So on Halloween, there's a reason why we dress up and we knock on strangers' doors. It's to get candy, it's Halloween, it's a thing we do. Or we do stuff to get away from something, like homework. Who wants to do homework, right? So those are one of the two main reasons why we engage in most behaviors we all engage in. All right, so why do we do the things we do? Going into a little bit more specific details. Ooh, it went a little fast on me there. All right, so we cry because we ran out of muffins, right? So he wants more muffins. He's crying because he wants more muffins. We cry because we want mommy's attention. Another one. Who likes dirty dishes? Anybody like to do dirty dishes? I hate doing dirty dishes, and if I could run away from them every night, I totally would. And sometimes we all like to look at ourselves in the mirror, right? So we do things because we like it. It feels good. It makes us feel good about ourselves. And who doesn't like to dance? I love to dance. So dancing, again, we do it because it feels good and it's something we enjoy. All right, pop quiz for our Facebook family. We all behave to get something or get away for something or to get attention. Give you guys a moment. And of course, we all behave to get something or to get away from something. All right, so the functions of behavior. What purpose does behavior have to the person who's engaging in it? So we all do stuff for a reason. So the person gets attention. They cry, they beg to get attention from mom, dad, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, animals. My dogs do it too. Everybody does it. To get an item or an activity, so it's tangible to get something, like muffins or candy. To escape or avoid aversive stimuli, like task, homework. Sometimes you do stuff to get away from people you don't like. And to get an activity, or to avoid an activity, or to avoid certain places. Like some of our kiddos don't like places with loud noises. You take them there once, they don't want to go back again because, of course, the noises bother them. So they want to avoid that place. And if you say you're going there, that might cause a tantrum. Certain things like that. And then a person behaves in the behavior because it feels good, like dancing. Oh. That one. There we go. Okay. So we're going to go over some examples. Sue Bob starts crying and hitting mom while mom is on the phone. Sue Bob wants mom's attention. While driving in the car, Billy's parents pass an ice cream shop. Billy starts crying and kicking the seat in front of him. Probably wants ice cream. When presented with a task, Jimmy hits the table and starts screaming. So instead of doing his homework, his table has a tantrum, starts screaming, and he probably wants to avoid that task. And you guys can ask questions at any time. This thing is sensitive. Kim jumps up and down while watching her favorite movie. It feels good when she jumps up and down while she's watching TV. Rick's parents are watching TV, and Rick starts throwing his toys across the room. They're not paying attention to him, they're paying attention to the TV program. Rick probably wants their attention. Emily is shopping, and her son starts crying because he wants a toy. Emily buys him the toy. Now, Emily wanted him to stop crying, so she escaped the crying and bought him the toy. Tanner started crying while shopping in the store with his mom when he saw a toy. Tanner wanted the toy and knew exactly how to get it. All right, pop quiz for our Facebook people. What is most likely the function of her behavior? Audience, what do you think? Yes, excellent. You guys rock it. Now it's not being sensitive. There it is. We got it. Beautiful job. All right. So knowing the function of a behavior can help us determine how to treat the behavior. Attention, typically we want to ignore that behavior and then provide lots of attention for an alternative behavior or good behavior, and find those little moments where they're just being perfect. Even if it's sitting on the floor for 10 seconds, if they just got out of a tantrum, you want to reinforce, I love how much better you're sitting. Those kind of things. So catching those little moments and making sure we're providing attention for those little moments. Tangibles. So we want to wait until they're calm, or prior to this happening, we can teach them how to ask for the things they like. Because some of our kiddos don't know how to do that yet, and they cry to get the things that we all think they want and need, and then we provide them. But instead, we can wait until they're calm and then teach them how to ask for it or provide it if they can't ask for it. Escape and avoidance, we want to always keep them in the task. Always keep the demand in place. Don't allow them to escape the task. Even if you're sitting there for 2 hours and be like, hey, you do five problems and then you get to go take a break. You do 5 problems and then you get to go take a break. We want to make sure we keep that task in place so they don't learn that they can cry and get out of it. Super important.
We have a question from online. Caroline asks that, she says that her child tells her to shut up, and he's great when everyone else is around. She doesn't know how to get him to stop and won't even talk unless she wants something. Tried ignoring the anger, cussed at it for years, and it's worse.
Okay.
So she doesn't know how to deal with that.
Okay, so quick question back. Does she eventually give in, even after, so she ignores first, let's say 10 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, and then gives the attention to it? Or are we ignoring the whole entire tantrum itself? That's super important, because if we are keeping it going and after an hour we give in, that's teaching them, I have to cry for an hour and then I get all this attention. So next time they might cry for 2 hours of mom ignoring, but they know eventually mom's gonna break, right? So that could be one of the reasons.
Yes, she gives in.
Yep, okay. So don't give in, stay strong, you guys can do it. I know it's hard, trust me. I've been there too. All right,
Yes.
Beautiful. Hi guys, welcome.
Thank you.
I'm Brittany, and we are learning about the functions of behavior, so welcome. All right, so escape and avoidance, super important. We keep them in task and we stay strong with that too. Automatic or sensory, you block without providing attention. Now, that doesn't look like stop, stop, stop. It looks like I'm blocking and I'm turning my back to them. I'm not even looking at them. And if you can't block it, there are other things that you can do, like teaching them that it's only appropriate to do that in your room. So let's say they like to jump up and down while watching movies. You can teach them they can jump up and down while listening to music in the movie, because it's kind of like dancing. So you want to teach them more appropriate ways to engage in that behavior. All right, any questions? All righty. So what can we do? We kind of went over a little bit of it. Sue Bob starts crying and hits Mom while Mom is on the phone. What do you think we can do? Anyone? Yes. Very good, you got it. Beautiful. Ignore Sue Bob and give her attention when she is calm or doing something else. So let's say she keeps nagging you, and then runs and grabs a toy. The second she grabs that toy, reinforce her and let her know what a great job she's doing. Perfect. While driving in the car, Billy's parents pass ice cream. Billy starts crying, kicking the seat. What can we do?
Ignore it.
Very good. Ignore and, let's see, ignore the problem behavior and teach Billy how to appropriately ask for ice cream. If he's in the mood for ice cream, you can say, hey Mom, I saw we passed an ice cream shop. I want ice cream. Or just say, I want ice cream. And maybe he'll get it. Beautiful, very good. And when presented with a task, Jimmy hits the table and starts screaming. Jimmy wants to escape. What do we do? Yes, very good. Beautiful. So we can break the task down if needed. Do 5 problems, take a 10-minute break. Or we could just teach Jimmy to ask for a break, but either way, you're doing some of that homework at this time. And then you can either ask for a break or we'll give you a break. Beautiful, you guys are rocking it. All right, what can we do? Continues. Kim jumps up and down while watching her favorite movie. We can block the jumping, or we can redirect the jumping and have her sit until music comes on and then let her go up and do her thing, dancing. All right. Rick's parents are watching TV. Rick starts throwing his toys across the room. Rick wanted his parents' attention. What can we do? Yes, you guys got it. We're gonna ignore Rick. Oh, whoops, it doubled it. We're gonna block the throwing without giving attention, or we can just ignore it, obviously, depending on what he's throwing. If it's a soft little toy versus something big and scary, we'll wait until Rick is calm and engaging in appropriate behavior and then provide lots of attention. Very good. And then we already got that one. Emily is shopping. She buys him the toy because he's crying because she doesn't want to hear him cry anymore. She can just ignore him. It gets easier as you do it, I promise. It's like you don't even hear it anymore. Tanner started crying while shopping in the store. He wants Mom, or he started crying when he's shopping in the store with Mom. When he saw a toy, what can we do? Ignore Tanner's crying. And when calm, we can teach him to ask for the item he wanted. Beautiful. Any questions so far? Yes.
With the toy one, when they're throwing the toys, like you said, if it's something big that it breaks, and you mean block it, like go block it, but don't.
Exactly. Don't provide attention. I would even block it from behind if you can't pick it up and just move it.
Okay.
Yep. And I just even put it somewhere that they can't reach it. If they keep coming at you. Because normally when you take something, they're going to run after you to come get it.
Right.
So you can always just put it somewhere up and wait for them to be calm, and then you can return it when they're ready. And of course, provide the attention.
So what about when asking for an ice cream or asking for a toy?
And
not
you can't have it.
Well, not every time you can have an ice cream. So yeah, it's good that you're asking, but
Yep, and sometimes you're gonna have to tell them no. And if the no then proceeds in a tantrum, that's when you just ignore it. And maybe next time they're in the car and they ask nicely, you can reinforce it. So you wanna make sure at least some of the time when they're asking the right way.
Yeah.
But you also wanna make sure that when they are asking the right way. I love how great you ask, but right now we haven't had dinner yet. We have to have dinner first, but maybe we can have some ice cream at home, or maybe we can have ice cream on Friday. depending on whatever your guys' routine is, there's always alternatives. And if it does, then proceed in a tantrum, ignore the best you can. And I would say every few minutes you can remind them, hey, remember, after dinner we can have ice cream, or hey, remember, if you're good the rest of the week, on Friday we can have ice cream, depending on how high functioning your kids are. So if your kids are older, telling them that they can earn it on Friday is good, that they would understand that, versus some of our little ones, they're not going to understand waiting till Friday. So that might be when you can have a piece of gum after dinner, or you can have a Skittle after dinner. Give them an alternative choice if they continue to have good behavior, but you want it to be a little sooner. Yes, Mr. Craig?
I'm sorry, I just wanted to make a comment. So I think that what's important to understand is that what Brittany's going over tonight in terms of functions of behavior is just one part of what would be considered a comprehensive, whether you want to call it behavior plan or treatment package or intervention or whatever you would talk about. That I think it is important to highlight that sometimes you're going to have to shape behavior, or sometimes you're going to have to put in situations where you alter the antecedents to a behavior, or you teach behaviors to antecedent behaviors like coping skills or something like that. And that this is just sort of one part of it, and that if when you go to the analyst at the program and you talk about this either in parent training or at the clinic, that you sort of discuss those things, and that the function of the behavior is sort of one way that a treatment plan would sort of address and help that, but that there are a lot of other principles, interventions, things like that that would be sort of combined in to make a comprehensive treatment package, if that makes some sense. Sorry, Brittany.
You are good to go. That makes perfect sense. So this is just the basics, one way of figuring things out. We're not really going too much into treatment, but I just want everybody to be able to identify basic functions. Beautiful. All right. So why is it important to treat behaviors based on function? So we don't want to accidentally reinforce a challenging behavior, because it might seem like it might be one way, but it really could have a whole nother function. So you've got to really look into it. So during homework, Sam is always asking for help and talking about how he can't do it. It's too difficult for him, and parents provide a lot of attention, like, yes, you can do it. You've got this, it's not that hard, and they help him continuously. While in school, Sam has no problem doing his schoolwork, and he does it correctly and independently. At home, however, he complains and gets attention. This then increases the complaining at home. So looking at the first sentence, you might think, oh, it might be escaping the task, when really what he wants is parents' attention. So it's really important to base on function, because if you're providing a lot of attention because you think he's trying to escape it, the attention's really increasing it. Okay? That makes sense. Any questions on that? Yes.
I mean, how are you supposed to know that, though? Like,
You work with your...
ask your kid, are you attention deprived?
No, but you can tell too, because if they tend to increase, so after you do provide that attention, if that behavior continues and it's a behavior that you don't really want, that's a way of kind of thinking like, maybe this is happening. And you can also go to your behavior analyst and be like, hey, this is kind of happening at home. Is he doing that at the clinic, in the school? Talk to his teachers, those kind of things, and that can help you figure that out too. Because it's a hard process, and it could be a lot of things. But it's good to know the basics, like, maybe this isn't, maybe we're not doing the right thing. Very good, beautiful question. All right, and then to decrease an inappropriate behavior, we want to increase or teach an alternative behavior that serves the same purpose. So we want to teach Sam to ask for attention in appropriate ways. So let's say Sam does a few problems on his own, and then he can be like, hey mom, look at how good I did this. And hey dad, check this out, I did it all by myself, and I did it so quick, and I did it right. Those kinds of things. So providing him attention for that behavior of him doing it on his own. And of course, the parents would require him to do it on his own, and then could come in and reinforce him doing it by himself. Because we know he can, because his teachers said he could. Cool? Any more questions? Awesome.
Wait, I do have one.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
I feel like in that one though, you're rewarding the task of doing the homework by itself,
Mm-hmm.
but you didn't solve the problem of him wanting to be with you and have some attention.
So basically, you're rewarding him with the attention of him doing it by himself. So that's where he gets attention. Go ahead, Greg.
No, so I think that we were talking about this earlier, right? So
Yeah.
that the idea is understanding the function of the behavior doesn't solve the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What it does is it drives your potential reinforcer for a replacement behavior.
Yeah.
So what that means is that we were joking before that if you've got a problem behavior, like you can get rid of a problem behavior through consequences, right? And like I'm a dad of 3, right? And trust me, at home we've had this conversation in these trainings before. At home it's very different, right? I rely on the same sort of consequence-based, like knock it off, cut it out, stop it, don't do that, put your hands down, sit nice, like all of the same sort of stuff. So I get that, and you can decrease the behavior, but what will happen, and particularly for a lot of the kids that I've worked with that have developmental disabilities or other impairments, is that you're not meeting the need of that behavior, that function of that behavior, right? So if it's for attention, I can punish the behavior so that it goes away, but I don't, like you said, I haven't addressed that need. So what tends to happen is that then that behavior gets replaced with just another behavior that, I mean, let's be honest, right? That like most of the kids that I've worked with, like if the first behavior wasn't very good, there's a pretty good chance that the second behavior is not going to be terribly much better. So that's why identifying these functions is so important. Identifying the function doesn't necessarily decrease the behavior, but what it does is it drives your replacement behavior. So if I determine that it's for attention, you're absolutely right. Now I can find other ways to give attention, to teach attention, to get attention that don't have to necessarily be
Sitting next to him while he's
correct or related exactly to this behavior of complaining, whining, I can't do it, because that's not a behavior that we necessarily want to encourage. We want independence and all that sort of stuff. So
Okay,
I hope that
that helps.
makes sense.
Yes.
Beautiful. Awesome. All right. Everyone feeling good? Okay. Going pretty quick here because you guys are rocking it. All right. Let's see. John, any questions from Facebook?
A few, but Craig's been helping me address them, so we're good.
Oh, perfect. Tag teaming it. All right. Keep calm. It's game time. You guys ready? All right. So we are just going to shout out answers. Okay. So we are going to play WTF. You guys ready for this? Oh, I put a lot of tricks in here. I got excited because I knew how to do some tricks, or I figured out how to do some tricks. There we go. That's what I wanted. What's the yay function? So that's what WTF means, by the way, to us. Trust me, we got shirts. It's totally a thing. All right. So scenario number 1. Crystal is sitting in class twirling her hair because her professor's lecturing on the functions of behavior. What do we think? Oh, let me do that real quick. What's the function of her twirling her hair? What do we think?
Feels good.
It feels good. It could be attention, depending on who's next to her, but automatic, which is also sensory based. Very good, you guys. It feels good. Very nice. Any questions on how we got that? No? Okay. Very good. All right, scenario 2. Peter worked all day, then attended class. He planned on cooking dinner for his wife, but when he got home, he immediately asked his wife, do you want to go out to eat? What do you think the function of Peter wanting to go out to eat instead of cooking dinner is?
Avoidance.
Yes, very good. Avoidance, escape. Wonderful. Woo! Beautiful. You guys are rocking it. I love it. All right. Any questions on how we got that? Okay. riding in the car with his dad and his little sister. When his sister starts to cry, Dad tries to comfort his sister by talking to her. Kyle starts crying that his toy fell on the floor. Dad lets him know that he will get it when they stop. Kyle continues to cry for Dad and starts throwing his cup and other items that are close to him. Yeah, what do we think the function? Oh, it doubled it. But you guys got it. It's attention. Very, very good. All right, Craig, start thinking of some scenarios. You guys are so good. I don't think I made enough. All right. Missy wants a cookie. She asks for a cookie and is told she has to wait until after dinner. Missy doesn't like that, so she throws her iPad and breaks it. Missy is then given the cookie. Uh-oh. So, what is the function of Missy's behavior?
You must be at my house.
Close. Any other guesses? So what does she want?
She wants that cookie.
She wants a cookie. So it is the tangible for the cookie. Because she wants to eat that cookie real bad. Very good. All right, any question on how we got that? Awesome. I'm scared to tap it again in case it goes like further. There we go. Of course it did. Jennifer is doing her homework and getting some help from her dad. The doorbell rings, Dad goes, he answers it. He starts talking to the neighbor at the door. Jennifer starts calling out for Dad. Dad goes and helps her again real quick and then returns to the neighbor. Jennifer starts asking Dad for a drink. He gets her the drink. Then she asks for food. He gets her the food. Then she asks for help again. What do you think is the function of Jennifer's behavior? Very good. Beautiful. She wants Dad's attention really, really bad. And she is coming up with just about everything to get it. All right, let's see. Craig is in a meeting that has lasted about 2 hours so far, and Shauna notices that Craig keeps flicking his pen. Shauna asks Craig if he's aware of what he is doing. He said no, but then stops. So we have a twofold here. What is the function of Shauna's behavior? Of Shauna telling him to, or making him aware of what he's doing? What do we think? Very good. Perfect. She wants to escape the pen clicking. She's over it. And what was the function of Craig's pen clicking behavior? Very good. You guys are rocking this. Love it. All right. Craig, you have it, or wait, I have one more, I think. Yes, I do. Perfect. Bill smiles while walking into the room and seems to be in a good mood. Once the music begins to play, Bill begins hitting himself and others around him. The staff working with him decide that this behavior should not be rewarded, and they take Bill out of the room where the music is. So he's removed from the music. Then every day when Bill walks into the music room, he starts hitting himself and his friends. So this begins to happen all the time, and then they remove him. What do we think oh, yeah, you guys said it. Good job. Perfect. You guys got it. All right, Mr. Craig, you got some scenarios for us?
Not off the top of my head. Maybe the group does.
Oh, yeah, you guys want to give us some scenarios that maybe the rest of the group can guess? That's a good idea.
Or help with.
Yes. Go for it.
I'll say one that I deal with.
Okay.
My daughter's hits a lot right now, and sometimes it's just in play.
Yeah.
But it's like I'm trying to get her to not hit. So I tell her, but then I try to walk away. She follows me, and it's more. So I guess it's not really a scenario, but the question is, like, is there any advice for, I mean, I guess I'd block and try to avoid, but just keep doing that.
Just keep, and then I would ignore and not tell her about it, right guys? So what do you think? Do you think she wants her attention? Yep. So I would just block and ignore, not talk about it. If you want to come back later and talk about it when she's doing good behavior, like remember we have safe hands. Daddy will give you lots of attention when you have safe hands, but I would wait until after the fact.
Yeah, and I think one thing, like Brittany had said, is that that she wanted to just go over the basics tonight.
Super basic.
But I think one thing that's we notice a lot of is that behavior can be what's called, and move over further. Behavior can be what's called multiply maintained. So what that means is that one behavior can serve multiple functions, which really just complicates things.
Yeah, it just makes it a lot more complicated.
So I might hit because I want attention, but then later on I might hit because I want to escape, or I might hit because I want access to a tangible item, and things like that. So it can be multiply maintained. I think the other thing that's key here is that, and I think Brittany did an excellent job sort of describing this, that what we call topography doesn't matter. So the way that a behavior looks tells you very little about its purpose.
Yep.
In the sense that I can hit because I want access to tangible items. I can hit because I want to escape. I can hit because because it actually feels good. I might like the reaction that I get from other people. So I think it's important to sort of understand that A, one behavior can be multiply maintained, and B, that one behavior based on the way that it looks could be for a number of different, even one individual functions.
Exactly, the context is what matters in the environment, yes.
How can you tell if just because of like in autism in particular, there can be a lack of social training, that some of these things might just be a delay of just being able to socialize. So like Gabe will lately he'll be happy or whatever, and he'll just walk up to us and like push us in our belly. It's just new, and so I don't know if he learned it somewhere or something. So it's like I don't think he wants attention. I'm thinking about it now. Like I'll go back when it happens again, and maybe it feels like it's his new way of saying hi. So it's like I can't tell if it's like he just is he's just learning how to interact with peers, and I just don't know if he doesn't know that's just not what you do.
Correct.
So if he's seeking
exactly.
something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and you can check that out by saying if maybe next time you ignore it, does he keep doing it? Or you can also, out of that context, separately, like maybe like a little while later or before it even occurs, start teaching him how to appropriately say hi, teach him how to wave. You can even prompt him on how to wave and see if maybe that's another way of getting people's attention, tapping them. Show him how to tap you lightly. Those are other things you can do to kind of test it out a little bit.
Because the gut hello is not fun.
Yeah.
I know, it's surprising probably too.
Right. So I think basically that you sort of answered your own question, right? And you saying that, well, I think it's his way of saying hello. It then brings us to, well, which of those functions is it, right? So it's to get something, and he's trying to get. Well, we use the word attention very, very loosely, and very broadly, right? So in this situation, it's not necessarily to get your attention, but it's a way of greeting or a way of interacting. And just to go back to sort of, I guess, the first part of your question, and that sort of delineating or differentiating between like a symptom of autism and a behavior. And what we would say as behavior analysis is that it doesn't matter.
Yep.
Regardless of what a diagnosis or anything like that, anyone's behavior comes back down to these things. Even our complex behavior comes back to these. Really to the first two that Brittany mentioned, that either getting something or taking away something. That's really everything that we do funnels down to one of those two things, regardless if it's a core deficit of autism or it's because I'm a genius, or regardless of what that diagnosis or that is. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And even us as adults, we all do that with our husbands, our wives, everything. We all do engage in certain behaviors.
Really, the socialization is just teaching people how to manifest that in a way that's acceptable in culture.
Exactly. So again, exactly, right. So like we said before, identifying that function doesn't solve the problem. It leads you to a potential reinforcer for an alternative behavior, right? So now if I can, if he comes and he pushes my, my stomach and I don't attend to that, but then I immediately prompt a handshake or a hi or, even a tug on my shirt, something a little bit less physical than a punch in the gut, and I can reinforce that with attention, then there's a chance that you might be able to shape that out. And like Brittany said, like there's ways that you could, test it, test it,
okay.
or,
It's
test
sensitive
your
sometimes.
hypothesis. And one of the ways is by trying to teach an alternative behavior. And if I can teach an alternative behavior with that reinforcer, well, then my function was attention, right? And if that doesn't work, and, it should pretty quickly, if your reinforcement rate is high and you're replacing it fairly equally, and it's a behavior that's as easily able to do, right? If you're going to replace a punch in the gut with a 2-minute long soliloquy or introduction, he's not going to do that because that's a much more complicated behavior. But if it's something that's as simple and easy and successful to do, then you should know.
All right, I think we might have Facebook stuff.
We do have a Facebook question.
Yeah.
Tabitha asks what she should do when her child hits or pinches her brother only when she's not watching or has stepped out of the room. Which again, I think finding the function is a great place to start.
Exactly, and you can again test certain things. You could see if you teach them an alternative behavior, would that stop? Also, we need to know, does mom then run into the room after the brother and sister is crying? And is that a way to get mom's attention when she's gone? So that's another thing. It could, again, all of these examples could be changed based on context and what actually happens before and after the behavior actually occurs. So that's all super important to have the whole context. Because again, it could be multi-unitating. It could be I pinch them because they cry and I like hearing them cry. Or it could be I pinch them, mom runs in, and now I have mom's attention because maybe I don't know how to ask for mom's attention or how to ask for mom to come back into the room. Those kinds of things. So that could have been just my way of getting mom's back.
Yeah.
Perfect. Beautiful. Any other questions? Got this up. Discussions? Yes.
Like my daughter, she's 11 years old.
Mm-hmm.
We try to teach it to her, don't talk to or touch stranger people, because she got accustomed to go touching and talk to and say, oh, my birthday is by this day, can you come to my house? When is your birthday? Can you bring in my piece of cake? And stuff like that. And we tell them, you don't have to do that with stranger people because you don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard for us to stop that behavior to her.
So internet-based behavior?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a scary one. Craig, I know you've worked with older children and older, almost teenagers, and I know that's kind of that area. I would say for parental controls on the computer is a big thing.
Yeah, so if it's computer-based or even if it's in person, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think what you're going to do is you're going to try to, again, like we said, this is just one part of what would be a treatment plan, and you would have to have other parts in there. So there's one part that's teaching what's called a discriminative stimulus. So basically what that means is you have to teach that person who I can say those things to and who I can't, and who a stranger is and who a stranger's not. And for some of our kids, it needs to be very concrete.
Exactly, very specific.
And it needs to be very specific. So that would probably not have so much to do with the function because that's a hard one to replace the function, right? It would be hard to teach her to get more attention from, like, you can't control that. That's very hard to do.
It's hard, yeah.
Yeah, so it would be more along some of that what we would call antecedent intervention, or teaching who I can say these things to and who I can't, and sort of teaching her when I can do that and when I can't, and sort of maybe just controlling the behavior in that regard, right? So I can do these things if I email cousins, right? Or I talk to cousins, I can say, come bring me birthday, or you're gonna bring me birthday cake when it's my birthday, right? And I can send my cousins 2,000 emails about all of that sort of stuff, right? But a stranger that I meet at the bus stop is not the person that I should be asking to bring me cake at my birthday party, right? So you have to teach that part. So when we change behavior, like I said, Brittany was really looking at one type. So we have something called ABCs, antecedents, behavior, and consequence. And when we're changing a behavior, we can either change the antecedents, we can change the behavior, or we can change the consequence. And this, tonight, what she was talking about was changing the consequence. So it's one small part of what would be included.
Yeah.
For something like that, you'd really be looking at changing the antecedents and probably changing some behavior in the sense that you would teach who I can ask to come for cake and who I can't ask to come for cake. Then you would teach, when I've got this person, I can ask them to come for cake, but when I've got this person, I just say, hi, how are you? And then I put my headphones on and I sit on the bus, right?
Yeah.
That, like, I don't do anything more than that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes, makes sense.
Yeah.
And you can do that in like role-playing games too, where you sit them down and you're like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm a stranger, we're at a bus stop, what do you do? And you're sitting next to me, and then you can practice, and then you can teach her what you can do.
Okay, yeah, but you say, we telling her, if you made good behavior this week, but the weekend we go to the movie theater, or we gonna give a present to you, and she understand that part.
Yep.
She's more older than now,
Yep.
you know, like
Good.
when she wants song, you tell her, if you do good, you wanna have maybe Wednesday if it's Monday, or Friday if it's like Tuesday, and she understand that part. But
Good.
now she started doing that part. I think she want get attention or interest, like talk to other people, but she don't know how.
Correct.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
Yeah.
she
So
don't know.
that would be changing the
But she
behavior, is
getting
the how.
older, it's
Yeah.
changing the, you know,
Yeah.
the behavior.
Yeah. Very good. And I think practicing scenarios too, and role playing and sitting down with her, and you being one person and then her being another person, might be helpful too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In,
Very good.
yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Absolutely. All right. Anybody else? Facebook? Do we have anything for our Facebook friends?
Nothing else at the moment, no.
All right. Very good. Well, thank you all for coming. I hope you guys had fun. I had fun. There we go. Yes.
What is question 3? I missed it.
Yeah. I
Actually,
only
going
put
over
two.
all three, oh, you only put two?
Yeah, and then the rest were scenarios, so.
Okay.
'Cause we
Oh,
had,
there you
like,
go, then
7
there is no
scenarios.
third question. So if you want to go over the first two questions for him, just in case, one of the most frequent questions I get is, what were the questions?
Ah, okay.
So go over those at the end real quick, and then we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Great job.
All right, beautiful. I will just get those back for us real quick.
Well,
I think.
if our
I
class
think-
is paying attention here, you guys could probably tell us what was the
Okay.
first one.
Oh, yes, very good. That's
Yeah.
a good idea, John. I like it.
Audience participation.
I can't read my handwriting, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
That's all right.
I'm the same way.
Well, the first one was we do stuff to either get something or avoid something, or it feels good, right?
Yep,
And the second one, I don't know.
yep. So what was the answer? Does anybody remember? Oh, we don't. Yeah, very good. And then the second one was a picture. So it was a picture of a woman ripping up her work
Oh, that's right.
assignment. Very good. You got it. Beautiful. Any other questions? It was awesome seeing you all tonight. Thank you all so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.